Chicago, what do you say? Coming at you live on a Sunnyside Summer Thursday. This is the CHGO Cubs Podcast. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases and a promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 and older or Illinois medical card holders. Hello and welcome to the show. An off day for the Cubs. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo with you. We had a great watch party last night in Hickory Hills. Shout out to everybody that came out. Sean Caselli made a long drive out there. A lot of people made some long drives. We appreciate that. Make sure you like and subscribe to CHGO Sports YouTube page because it's the best way to enjoy what we do. You get in the chat, you have fun, you watch the show live, and it's just better that way. So make sure you go there, and we appreciate that. We got more events coming up. We'll tell you about them later in the show. We've got, we're going to talk about prospects in this show. We're going to talk about power equaling playoffs in this show. We're going to talk about the series against Cleveland, disaster, Cody. But we do have good news, right? There's some good news out there on a Sunnyside Summer Thursday. So we got something positive to talk about at least, right?
Yeah. I mean, I saw it when I saw it come up on my Twitter timeline. Shout out to Braggs sharing it into our Slack channel. It was good to see. It was exciting news to see that Ryne Sandberg cancer free.
Yeah. They're doing a Cubs for the Cure radiothon right now on the Score, and he came on as a part of it with Danny Parkins, I think Lawrence Holmes and Layla Rahimi at the time. And we have the clip that they posted on Twitter. So before we get to all the Cubs talk, you got to see this because Rhino is emotional in it, obviously, and he breaks the news as they're trying to raise $1 million for cancer research and finding a cure for cancer. And you can go and you can donate to that all day long. So cubsforacure.com is the place. But here's the clip. Sarah's running the 1s and 2s. She'll show you the clip from the Score's Twitter page. This is Rhino announcing that his cancer is undetectable.
Where are we at in treatment? How much radiation? Where are we at going forward?
I'm glad you asked. I'd like to make an announcement right here. First and foremost, 7:40. Just a second.
Take your time.
7:45 this morning. Had my last treatment. All good.
Hey.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations.
11:30 met my oncologist. He said the tests are great. Cancer undetected, very manageable going forward. And that's the next plan. And just found that out 2 hours ago.
Wow.
So what a coincidence with this going on.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I mean, I can't even imagine that feeling.
Take all the time you need. That is a wonderful thing.
No, it's incredible. The doctors, the nurses, like I said, the support. It's been quite the journey, but it's all come to a good conclusion here. So tears of joy are happening.
Tears of joy indeed.
Wow. I mean, that's powerful stuff. I don't want to get choked up just watching it. I was sitting there like watching. I was like, this is deep stuff. And he announced that he had cancer. And that day we found out and we talked about it on Twitter. And it's just kind of been, I think a lot of Cubs fans have been following his journey on Twitter, on social media, as he's been giving updates every time he goes in for chemo, every time he goes in for radiation. The numbness in his feet, all the stuff that comes with it, how sick he is. And it's just amazing to see that he's gone from stage 4 cancer to undetectable and totally manageable. So listen, this podcast might have a lot of negative stuff on it today. They just got swept by the Cleveland Guardians. But let's start it with something positive on a sunny side summer Thursday and say that's great news. Like, that's bigger than anything else that's going on right now for us.
I mean, in some ways, you can talk about how Rhino's kind of been the one consistent, like, positive for this entire season.
Yeah.
With the statue and all of that stuff, and just watching his journey go through this. I mean, obviously, the journey at the beginning wasn't great because he announced that he had cancer, but we're here at almost the end of the year and, got a month and a half, and, to hear that he's cancer free, it's it's kind of like a light shine down on the rest of us as we deal with the team itself and all the questions that we have about all kinds of things related to the Cubs organization. But, I as I've said, I never got to watch the guy play. You did. He's one of your players growing up. And I know that my mom is very happy to hear that he is cancer free. He's one of the all-time greats, not just in the Cubs, but, in baseball. And you couldn't ask from all things that I've heard that he's just a great guy too. And that just makes it even easier to root for him and even better to, hear of this great news. So, yeah, I mean, it's great news when you hear someone beats cancer.
Yeah, I mean, James Colstock in the chat saying Rhino's the best Cubs player in my lifetime. No one else is even close. I mean, he's my childhood hero. If he was the easiest pick, it wasn't even close. When he's your MVP and he has the Sandberg game and all that stuff, and he gets into the playoffs. We talked about that for the first time in my life. And yeah, he was everything to everybody, still is. And so awesome news. Ryne Sandberg, his cancer undetectable. Again, we're here. We're not competing against someone. Honestly, we're here to be partners with everybody. We want to have fun. We want to be part of the community. And so CubsForTheCure.com, if you can go help out at the Score today, go do it. Listen to the Score, CubsForTheCure.com. Donate. Everybody's had somebody in their life that's been impacted by cancer. If you haven't personally, I guarantee you somebody has. So it's a great cause. They're trying to raise $1 million. See if you can do it, and go ahead and fly the W for Rhino today, because that is just another huge win, maybe the biggest win, obviously, in his career. He's had a lot of them, but that's flying the W unlike any other. Meanwhile, the Cubs, as we mentioned, well, it's, Cody was starting to believe. He was starting to have he was getting reeled in a little bit,
Okay, hold on. That is not what happened. I have had the same belief all season. There was never me being out and me being reeled back in. Let's just don't get that part twisted, Luke. I have always been the only person. Cody. I have been the one person on this podcast that has remained to have some sort of hope the entire season. I have not waved the white flag. We had that one show where you said the season was over, and then I did a lot of laughing, but I still didn't say the season was over. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I have not flip-flopped. I have not flip-flopped like I did last year. Okay. I just want that to go on record. I have not flip-flopped. I have not officially said the season was over yet.
I have.
Okay. Continue.
I don't remember when it was, but it was well over 2 months ago.
Well, I swear it was like a month ago. Yeah, I don't remember after what lost, but there was like 4 of us on set, and you said something along the lines that the season was over. You declared it, and then everyone laughed at me when I didn't say that it was. So again, whether I'm right or wrong, which probably is leaning that I'm wrong, whatever. I just want it on record that I haven't flip-flopped this year, okay?
You're not flip-flopped.
That is the main point that I'm trying to push here, okay?
2 things have happened this season. Cody is not flip-flopped, and Ryan is the only person still playing who you got.
That's fair. That's fair, too.
He's the only guy still playing who you got. So, I mean, they could have won 2 out of 3 of those games against Cleveland, and that's why it's so disappointing. You score a lot of runs in the first one, you blow the 3-0 lead, and then the next 2 are they're just disappointing offensive performances. And it's the same old story, blah, 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 blah. You go over and over it again, and it's tough to watch. They get a day off. I guess this is a chance to regroup, but you better regroup in time. because it's running out. What's the percentage now, Cody? Do we know what the percentage is? It was like 7. Is it below 6 now?
Well, entering the week, it was at like 9.8. Then after the first loss, it went down to 6.8. And then I haven't looked since because all it did was make me sad. So I would say we're under 5% chance. You went from being 3 games back in the wild card entering Monday to now 6 games back. Someone in the chat said before we even started the show that because they don't own the tiebreaker, it's basically 7 games back. It doesn't help that the Giants haven't helped the Cubs out this week. Other teams helped. The Cardinals got swept by the Reds. The Mets, I don't know what the score is now. Last I checked, they were losing to the Athletics, on the verge of losing 2 out of 3 to the A's. But with the Cardinals getting swept by the Reds and the Cubs not winning a game, the Reds have hopped the Cubs, and they suddenly find themselves, in some sort of position if they stay hot. So yeah, I mean, and of course the Braves, after blowing that 8-2 lead on Sunday against the Rockies, they've won 3 straight against the Giants now, and it's just like, anyone who ever doubted them, it's like you're a fucking idiot. So you can go ahead and say it, Luke. Go ahead, it's fine.
No, I'm not going to say it. Listen,
go ahead.
They got a rough road ahead. I don't know how it's going to ever happen. It will take the miracle of all miracles in my mind for them to show me enough to play great for a super stretch of the season here at the end, just like for a month to play great baseball. I don't see it coming, but I guess crazier things have happened in baseball. Yeah. I didn't see, Ryne trying to take over who you got and changing the rules and putting it all on napkins and stuff, but that happened too. So we all move on. We all move on with the way things go,
A lot of people probably didn't think I could lose 30 pounds before opening day. And
I knew.
They were, I guess in some ways they were right. I lost 25 pounds instead of 30, but whatever, there was a long road ahead, a lot of hard work, and it happened. So the Cubs, in turn, if they're going to make the playoffs, there's a lot of hard work in beating the odds to get there. I don't know, man. Like, the only reason that they're, that I haven't waved the flag is just because all the teams in front of them, like they just aren't really running away. Like, sure, the Braves have won 3 straight against the Giants and this and that, but I don't know. Like, the Cubs' easy schedule also gives me some sort of delusional hope as well. And, they get the Blue Jays and then the Tigers, and they're at home. I think I'm more likely to wave the white flag if they don't have a winning homestand here coming up. If they don't have a winning homestand up here, then I think I will wave the flag. I think if they had got swept by the Guardians and all these other teams in front of them had, won more games, then I'd probably be more so on your end. But, other than the Braves, they're still kind of right in there, even though, they've, because the Braves won, they're 6 games back, but with all the other teams there, and I'm still not sure about the Braves because they've had so many issues with their bullpen. Their offense has underperformed all season. You just don't know. But as far as like the Cubs in the series against the Guardians, I mean, it was like everything that we've talked about that's been so disappointing all season is what we saw on Tuesday and Wednesday. Like, yesterday, especially because they had multiple innings where they had guys on base and then they just couldn't get them in. And it's just like, what are we doing? But on Monday, they scored 8 runs and it looked more like what they had looked like since probably dating back to the Royals series. And so it's just like, I just don't know what team we're going to get from them. And that's like been the biggest problem all season.
Gary Ross, who did not make it out to yesterday's watch party, but we forgive him, has breaking news. He says Jed just dropped on 670 the score. The expectation is that they are going to reach go over the luxury tax this year. He kind of, Jed basically said that at the beginning of the season, like it was so close that by the time some things kicked in, they knew they were going to be there at this point in the season, which makes it even more disappointing because it's a wasted season, and they had a lot of chances to do something special in what I consider just a super weak division. And instead they decided to join the weak division. We'll talk more about that in a second, but first, Cody's going to tell us about our friends at BetterHelp, and we've got some interesting conversation coming up here in a second.
Yeah, the show is actually sponsored by BetterHelp. When your schedule is packed with kids, activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. I go to therapy. I've been going to therapy for the last year and a half, since January of last year, and it's been life-changing. Long story short. So I highly recommend using BetterHelp. That's who I use. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's an entirely online designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule, which is absolutely right. You basically get to choose it all out, as long as the person that you're doing it with, like if you schedule ahead of time and stuff like that. It is super easy. All you got to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/CHGO today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/CHGO.
Hey guys, our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that will break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames, crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from. You're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style, and they probably have a style in your favorite team's colors. I've seen some blue ones out there. I'll be wearing mine at Cog Hill next Friday for the Kickoff Classic here at CHGO. I struggle to find my golf ball in the rough. You know, that's where it ends up after every tee shot, and then the next shot, and then the next shot. But not with my polarized shades anymore. I go right to the ball because that white ball pops out like a beacon of hope for that next shot with my polarized shades. Plus, if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. No risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners right now, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I misunderstood what Gary was saying in the chat. He says that Jed Hoyer said on the score that they did go over the luxury tax this year. I thought he was saying like they plan to next season, but based off his chat,
no, that they already have.
That they officially did go over this year. So
yeah,
add that to the list of reasons why I think he should be fired then, if he did go over the luxury tax and we still can't win games.
But, I heard Jed say that at the very, very beginning of the season, that there was almost no way they weren't going to. You know, when you start factoring some stuff in,
I don't remember.
They were right on the edge of it anyways, and so it wasn't going to take some massive signing to push them over it. They knew they were headed that direction. Listen, about the last series, and it leads us to our next topic. John Kenzie Noel provided the power for the Guardians' sweep of the Cubs with 3 homers, presented by the Illinois pork producers. Savor the flavor, savor the gains, and celebrate any occasion by enjoying the best pork produced by Illinois pig farmers. That led to me asking the question on Tuesday, and then again at the watch party yesterday with Sean Counsell and others. I said, you know, how many 30 home run guys will serious playoff teams have? The Cubs are not going to have any. They're not going to have anybody near 30 unless somehow Ian Happ goes just on a blistering 4-week, 5-week stretch. I just don't see it, but they're likely going to have no 30 home run guys. So I went and did the research, Cody. How about that? Old guy does the research on the interwebs.
Looking up numbers too. Wow.
These are the 8 teams I consider having a chance to win a World Series. What I consider the best 8 teams. Now, the Brewers are not in there. By the way, the Brewers will not have a 30 home run guy. They'll have some 20 home run guys, but it's one of the reasons I don't believe they're a real deal, just like they never are. They're never a real deal. They get there, but then they're not a playoff team. So Dodgers have Ohtani at 37, Hernandez at 26, both 30. So they got 2. The Braves have Ozuna already at 35, and then Olsen and Riley at 21 and 19. They might not get there, but minimum 130 home run guy. Phillies have Schwarber at 28, Harper at 26. Schwarber with the grand slam. Don't get me started last night. Marte and the Diamondbacks 30. So the 4 favorites for me in the National League all have 30 home run guys. Some of them will likely have 2. One could have
the
3.
Padres. What the Padres?
Padres. If you want to, I don't think the Padres are going to do it, but if you want to throw the Padres in there, they're going to have one too.
Okay.
Yankees. Judge at 43, Soto at 34. Again, it's not, we're not talking 1 30 home run guy. You're talking about 2 they have to get through in a lineup. Orioles, I don't know how many they're going to have. Santander has 36. Henderson has 30. They have 2 more at 18 already. It's not impossible that they could have 3. Guardians with Ramirez at 31, Naylor at 26. So they're going to have 2. And the Astros with Alvarez at 25. He's going to get there. But then they also have Tucker and Bregman at 19 right now. So again, I just look at this and I'm telling you that in today's baseball, power equals playoffs. Pitching wins championships, they say, but power equals playoffs. And I asked at the watch party, I was sitting next to Sean Counsell yesterday, and I said, if you're pitching against the Cubs, who would you pitch? Who would you think they might pitch around? Nobody. They're not going to. No team's pitching around somebody in the Cubs lineup. It hasn't happened. Has it happened all season where they're like, "Oh, can't face this guy. We got to move on to the next guy." You have to have someone in that lineup that strikes fear, and that's why I'll say over and over, and we'll get to it. Yeah, we got the Friday 120 Club, but we have the takeover coming up September 6th against the Yankees. Get out your "We Want Soto" signs and litter the outfield with them. Litter the outfield. Make Soto see him and make the Ricketts see him. We want Soto. I want Bragg starting the chant so that left field can even be in harmony with right field. We want Soto. Dun, 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 dun. We want Soto. And I want to see like 50 white signs in the outfield, overtaking the outfield. That's what I would like to see happen.
Sarah, make sure that we clip this part. Thank you. Yeah, I will say that to answer your question, do the Cubs have someone that strikes fear? I still think teams, despite the numbers being low, I still think teams take Cody Bellinger seriously. We've seen him. I've seen him get intentionally walked in the last couple weeks. Is it because he's red hot right now, or has been red hot since he coming back from the injury? Sure, but either way, he is like the one guy I think that teams do see that. Not at the level, I guess, of the guys that you're mentioning in this list of teams that are World Series contenders. Of course not. But I'm just to answer the question.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean we're gonna be talking about this all offseason. They got to get a power hitter. Of all these guys that you just mentioned, you're talking about Soto. I think Anthony Santander is actually realistic for this team too. And so like I wouldn't. I think like if you as delusional as I am, I'm a little surprised that this isn't more flipped. That I'm not the one yelling about signing Soto, and you are. But I'm the one who's being more realistic.
The only way it's going to happen is if they get guilted into doing it.
I guess, yeah. But I don't even know if that is, because this is the same organization that gave away Kyle Schwarber because of the pandemic, basically. Because of everything that ownership did after 2019, like they don't have any shame, in my opinion. Like, so that was a pander to you, Godfather, by the way. But like, I think realistically I do think Santander makes some sense for this team, but yeah, I mean, obviously we should have Soto signs in left field on Friday or on September 6th, whatever.
Yeah, September 6th.
We should.
But 3 weeks, right? 3 weeks from
I think so.
Friday, I think.
Yeah.
The return of Rizzo, but more importantly, the chance. We want Soto. All game. Every time he comes up.
We're gonna clip this.
Every time he comes up, they should give him a standing ovation every time he comes up.
We should clip all of Luke's "We Want Soto" chants, and we'll tweet it every single day the off season. The moment the Cubs season ends, first tweet every morning: "We want Soto." There you go. Every single day.
Our Twitter handle should tweet "We Want Soto" chant from the Friday 120 Club every morning. What number does he wear? I'm not good at numbers.
I don't even know. To be honest with you.
whatever number he wears, that's about that time is when we should throw out that tweet every morning.
Yeah. Also, in relation to your
120
other, related to the Cubs had someone close to 30 home runs. Not that it matters, but Morel did have 20 when the Cubs traded him.
Yeah.
They would have had two guys who maybe perhaps could have got there. I personally don't think Hap's going to get there, but I do think by the end of the year Hap could have 25 to 27, which for him would be great. It'd be that might be a career high for him. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
I mean, I'm not saying he hasn't had a great season. I'm just saying he's not a guy that strikes fear into pitchers. He's not a guy that they're like, well, home run's too likely here. We got to move on. We can't have him. We got to go to the next guy. It doesn't exist.
I don't even necessarily
think
it's
have
home
run.
run.
Where we know where to hit him on a regular basis.
I don't necessarily think it has to be like home run, but just like the fear of a guy that will drive runs in or, put the ball, like hit the ball hard somewhere, like I think the Cubs might, like there's no full on, like absolutely yes guy, but like I like the development of Michael Busch. And if he does pan out like Max Muncy, like he's kind of projected to, he could be, but obviously he's a rookie. Like to put that kind of expectation on a guy is unfair,
And Cody, where have we gotten the last 3 years with could be?
Nowhere.
If this happens, give me a known quantity, a guy that comes up to the plate and right? Like,
I agree.
That's the difference between playoff teams. All the eight favorites in my eyes, every one of them's going to have at least 130 home run guy.
Yeah.
The Cubs have pitchers. They got some starting pitchers that other teams would not like to face. But the next step is having somebody in the lineup that can be the anchor for all the other guys. Because they have some guys that, like we mentioned, are nice hitters, but they don't have a guy that strikes fear. Bellinger maybe for a hit, but they're not worried that he's going to be hitting 2 home runs in a game. They're just not. And maybe at one point in his career he was, but not anymore. All the regulars in the live chat today. Niren is here, Barb's here, Gary's here, DFW, Susie, even Evil Wax is here today.
I mean, you've given Sean Caselli multiple shout outs.
Well, Sean drove an hour and a half last night that would come to our watch party. I mean, we should have his photo in the background somewhere hanging on a wall, right? Like,
yeah, we should get a photo of him just to hang at the CHGO office.
Sean gets
with all of his like incredible jerseys. Every time he comes to one of our watch parties, he wears. Last night. What did he wear yesterday? It was Fontenot.
Fontenot, autographed.
And then the one before that was Todd Walker. And then I know he came with a Mark Grzelcyk one.
Yeah.
Like he has some of the most obscure ones. I think he came to Friday 120 Club with a Junior Lake one or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah.
He was just some of the most obscure ones. Yeah.
Remember the stretch where I was handing out 5-star reviews for members of the live YouTube chat? Sean has earned it. Sean has earned it. He's a 5-star member. Gary is too, even though he didn't show up last night. He wanted me to carpool with him. Sorry, Gary, I didn't see the carpool message. I didn't see the carpool message until I got to Hickory Hills, and then I chuckled that Gary wanted me to pick him up on the way. Not that I wouldn't have, but I didn't. Sorry, Gary. We're going to talk about the Cubs farm system ranking coming up in a little bit. And if we have time, we'll get to the Jesse Rogers thing, talking about the 6-inning minimum. I don't know if we're going to get to that today or not, but that's some crazy stuff going on around baseball too. First, we want to tell you about our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with more than 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll on in. Get in on the daily action with your friends. Become part of the Prize Picks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win to get that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. You know, what players are going off? Which ones are not? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and then turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code CHGO for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Okay? That's code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. It's Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And we have, let me see here. I had it here on my phone. We have a special deal right now. Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on the Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss the deal on Prize Picks. It's going to be gone at the end of September. So that's something to look forward to. Basically, they're handing you a W.
Yes.
And saying, okay, now you only need to get 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you only need to get 3.
Yeah.
Right?
As for tonight, you could be like me and just be really self-deprecating and make your lineup full of former Cubs or should have been Cubs. The Nationals and the Phillies play tonight. So you got Bryce Harper revenge game on top of the fact he's going up against a lefty who he's been demolishing lefties all season. So maybe go more than on 1.5 total bases for Bryce Harper. Maybe go over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs on Prize Picks with Kyle Schwarber because he's demolished left-handed pitching this year too. And I know me and Luke are still sad about that. And if you do want to do like a little Chicago, put some Chicago in there. The Sky are back tonight, and it's just been an automatic, like in my Prize Picks entry, Angel Reese more than on the rebounds because she's just an absolute beast at getting rebounds. So I think it's set at like 13.5. Just saying that would be my Prize Picks entry tonight. All right. And you know what? After last night's loss, I made a trip to Sunnyside on my way home. Sunnyside helps me get through a lot of these Cubs losses. I'm just being completely honest with you, Luke. Our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your summer. Sunnyside is home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. Stop in the store nearest you for expert guidance on their stuff, or select from quality lines like Cresco or FloraCal. Here for the summer is Good News Tea Time Disposable Vape, bringing classic lemonade flavor that's perfect for the golf course, Luke, just in time for the Kickoff Classic. Boom. All right.
We all
know you need to stay a little loose while you're on the green. I've seen that swing. All right.
Whole body's tight. My neck's always tight. It throws off the swing, everything.
Yeah. You can
loosen up.
You can get that, or maybe Mindy Siegel's award-winning chocolates at Sunnyside. Those are both great options, in my opinion. So head to sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Again, that's HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
Very nice. A lot of rankings come out all season. MLB.com does the farm system ranking. It comes out, I think, preseason, midseason, spring training, something like that. I don't know. But they just had one come out literally, I believe, today.
Within the last couple of days, for sure.
Yeah, I was reading the article about it. Maybe it was the article that came out today, ranking the farm system 1 through 30. Jim Callis, Jonathan Mayo, and Sam Dykstra. They have the Cubs farm system now at number 8. They started the season at number 2. Now, that's not reason to go ahead and panic, because as far as top 100 prospects, before the season, Bush, Ben Brown, PC, and Wicks were all top 100 prospects that graduated. So they've taken some of their top 100 prospects, and some of those guys have already graduated to the majors, but the guys that are still left there, they're still number 8. So there's still hope on the farm system. But nobody in the top 10.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think Baseball America ranked them, I think, 11th. And then ESPN, I believe, was 12. Somewhere just right outside the top 10. Sometime in the last week, and some people on Cubs Twitter I saw were freaking out. Like, I don't get why you're freaking out. It's still better than being in the bottom 10 like they were 4 years ago. Also, like you said, you got to factor in the fact that they've had some guys graduate. People keep forgetting that Michael Busch was considered a top 100 prospect for the Cubs coming into the year. PCA graduated. I think Porter Hodge graduated as well. Luke Little graduated. I'm probably missing another name in there too, but yeah, like to your point.
Well, Ben Brown was still a prospect.
Ben Brown, yeah.
And I believe even though he had played last year, PCA had played a little bit last year, but Wicks also was still considered a prospect, I believe.
Right. So I think as far as like the ranking number or whatever, to see them at 8 on MLB Pipeline, like depending on which one you take more seriously, like I look at all of them and just take it all with a grain of salt because like at the end of the day, they are unproven commodities. Like you have to see them all play out. They definitely give me some sort of comfortability knowing that like the organization is healthy. Like I'd rather be in this position with the farm system than 4 years ago, right? Yeah. When they were, quite literally a bottom 5 farm system. They didn't have anyone. We were all hoping Braylon Marquez was going to save the pitching staff and all, like, I could go over some other names too, if you want me to, but I think it sucks about the whole Brennan Davis thing with the injuries and stuff. If that didn't fall apart, that would have probably raised their ranking a little bit higher too. Or at least some of those things would have panned out a little bit better over the last 4 years. But yeah, Shaw, Horton, Casey, Ballesteros, Triantos, and Alcantara. With Shaw's, I think they're the number 1 prospect in the organization now at number 25.
Shaw's at 25. Horton is at 31 in all of baseball. Casey at 36. Ballesteros 44. Triantos 60 and Alcantara 74. They're all at Iowa. Everybody's at Iowa, right?
Yes. And it's crazy how a handful of months kind of change your perspective on some things. I think coming into the year, I was most excited about Cade Horton and PCA. And now I think we would have seen Cade Horton if the injury didn't happen. But, we're going into next year now with Cade Horton, basically with the same question about going into this year, which is really unfortunate. But my point is as time has moved on this season, I think Ballesteros has reached like number 1 on my list of most excited just because I've watched some highlights. I love the swing. It's a left-handed power bat. Just like Owen Casey. But Ballesteros is, I think the Cubs are still trying to figure out if he can catch or not. I don't like it says on the MLB pipe on MLB.com, the article about this, that they list Ballesteros as a first baseman too. I don't think he'll be playing any first base as long as Michael Busch is here. So it's like catcher or DH. And, he's 20 years old. That's like the biggest thing that kind of points to me as far as excitement, just because he's in AAA and he's 20 years old. So he's got to get, I don't know how many at-bats the Cubs want him to get in Iowa. I thought maybe if the Cubs just went full on in on development this last 2 months of the year after the trade deadline, maybe we'd see him. And maybe that could still be the case in September if, they really struggle down the rest of August. I think that would give some fans at least some sort of, excitement or something to watch here over the last month and a half if that were to happen. But as we talked about in our last show, I think Matt Spiegel reported about Owen Casey getting, the cup of coffee in September. I don't think we'll see Ballesteros, but I'm just saying that I thought maybe we would if, the Cubs decided to go full on development, put both feet on that edge going into the last 2 months. And I just don't feel like that they are going to do that. So we'll see. But for me, as far as like these guys that we've been talking about for a handful of years, like he's kind of reached the top of my excitement. Not to say that I'm not excited about the rest of them, but Ballesteros, like again, 20 years old, left-handed, looks like he has some power, is a catcher, something that the Cubs desperately need. Like he does make me excited as well.
Well, his bat for sure. I mean, you mentioned like going into the season, I think most people PCA and Horton, and boy, you look at it now, Busch and Brown look pretty good. They both look like real legitimate pieces. But again, it's one major league season. We also know that like when you really zoom out for a guy and who he is as a player, even one good season can't tell you the story, because guys will go in, drop out, come up. Like Tim Anderson went from being the hero of the Field of Dreams game and the new face of baseball to being out of baseball in 2 years.
He'd been in the league a while though. Whenever
Correct.
that
But I mean,
happened,
from that stretch where people are like, "Oh, he's the new face of baseball," to now he's not even on a team that I know of, right? So like, it can happen quickly. What I'm saying is, Bush has proven to me that he's going to be a good player. Has been proven that he's going to be a star in this league? No, that hasn't happened, because that will take multiple years for that to happen, no matter what he's doing, So don't give up on some guys. Don't put too much faith in other guys. We just don't know who they're going to be from year to year, and injuries play a part in that. But the bottom line is, the system is not bare. I wouldn't worry about the fact that, once you get back down there, it's like Rojas and Smith, who they just drafted at the lower levels, because that still has to, drafts have to still go toward that. That will still get restocked at later times. Yes, that cupboard is a little more bare further down, but that's also potentially, in my eyes, a general manager looking at it and say, I need to get guys that can play sooner rather than later, or I won't be around here to make sure that those low-level guys are here to play in 4 or 5 years. So we'll see how it all goes. One thing that was disheartening for me is you look at that list and you're like, the Dodgers are number 5. We're sitting here hanging our hats on, but the farm system's pretty good. It might not be as good as it was in 14, 15, but we're right there. And you can directly connect the teams that have been at the top of this list. It's been the Orioles, and now they've graduated a lot of those guys to where I don't know what they dropped down to, maybe 2 or 3 or something like that, but they're not number 1 anymore.
Yeah.
It's the Rays. But look, they've graduated a lot of those guys. And all those teams that you see over the past that had good farm systems, almost all of them have then gone on to a good stretch of success. So you hope that's still coming for the Cubs. It's not guaranteed, but it is disheartening to see the Dodgers, who are already great, also have like the top 5 farm system to go with it.
Yeah.
On top of it all.
Yeah. I will say about the Rays, like, they had the number 1 overall prospect in baseball after Jackson Holiday got, recalled or whatever. Technically, I think he's still technically listed as a prospect. He hasn't graduated yet, but what's his name? Junior Caminero. He just got promoted to the Rays, actually, to the major league team. Going to be interesting to see how he pans out, but it's not really surprising that the Rays are, up there like that. They've just always been so good at developing talent. That's why they're always good. But yeah, I mean, the Dodgers is what it is, man. Like, I dream of times like that. Legitimately,
I don't remember.
Like,
yeah,
the Cubs can easily be that. They absolutely can. They have. What's the difference between being 5th and 8th in farm system rankings, Luke? Like, what legitimately? What's the difference?
Really? In reality, nothing. It's you hope it's. You want to be near the top. Now, it's nice to be number 1, but you just don't want to be like the bottom 5 teams in baseball, because then everybody knows you have no talent.
Right. And like, I'm just saying, like, my point that I'm making here is that, like, that's why this offseason, like I said in the last show, it's like, I feel like I say this every year, like, this is the biggest offseason in Jed Hoyer's career. Like, but this, like, not only to save his job, but like, I think any fans who have like, who gave Jed Hoyer the benefit of the doubt of giving him a chance to like lead this team or build this team or whatever, like, people like, if I'm out on Jed Hoyer, then I don't think anyone else is in on Jed Hoyer. I'm sure there are, but like, it's great that he's built this farm system. It's absolutely great that he's did this, because the Cubs absolutely needed to do it. And that's why I got past what happened at the trade deadline of 2021. They needed to do it, and it was a big stepping stone. And we're talking about Kevin Alcantara, who was part of the Rizzo trade. We talked about PCA, who, getting PCA for a half season of Javi Baez and Trevor Williams, and seeing how PCA has developed here over this year. and seeing what he could be for the Cubs down the road is an absolute fleece job by Jed Hoyer. Okay. And the Bryant trade, it's kind of whatever. I know Canario's not getting an opportunity because they have 1,000 outfielders, and Caleb Killian, when he has played, he hasn't impressed, and he's also been hurt. Right. But 2 out of 3 of those, like, based off what I've seen from Kevin Alcantara, like that could potentially be another one of those 2. I just also don't know if it will be with the Cubs. Like if you move him and get a great player back in return, which I think you could, because you just look at Kevin Alcantara, he looks like a future all-star based off his body build alone and the athleticism and the power that he displays, or that he has displayed in the minor leagues. It makes you feel like if you did trade him, you could get a really good piece back that can help you win now, right? So like those are the good things that Jed Hoyer's done, and I give him a lot of credit for building this. But I think Jake said in the chat earlier, like he's tired of talking about the farm system and the rankings, and that he's ready to watch the Cubs win. Like that's where I am. Like 3 years ago, yeah, I dreamed of seeing the farm system like this. Now I'm like, okay, well, how are we going to start winning?
I'll tell you how. You start winning with our friends at Blue Moon. Some beers can say they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together, and no beer goes better than the one that was literally born in a ballpark. Blue Moon was created at Coors Field in Denver, Colorado. It's the natural choice all season long, all summer long. Summertime shy is still rolling along. Give me a Blue Moon. The hot weather's coming back tomorrow. I want to cool off with a Blue Moon. Nothing beats watching baseball or lounging by a pool, hanging out at the beach. Nothing beats it like hanging out with an ice cold Blue Moon and a nice slice of orange to go with it. Blue Moon was brewed by baseball to give you a dose of nostalgia and get you excited for a season. A beer this good only comes around once in a blue moon, but you can enjoy it all summer long. Bring the ballpark to you with Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale. It's one of a kind every time. Get Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO to see your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter, celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. We do have the Friday 120 Club tomorrow, right, Cody?
We do, yeah. Me and Braggs. I still have to make the sign tonight. I don't really know because it's Toronto, but I've been trying to think of some ideas, but we'll have something.
What's up, Vladdy?
Yeah, what's up,
How about
Vlad?
just sup, Vladdy?
Or give us Vlad Jr., please. Something like that. Like as much you're talking about Juan Soto. I mean, I would love for the Cubs to get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. We've been talking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
I'm fine with that.
Since
he's got 25 homers by the
October
way.
of last year. Yeah, and he's had a much better year than last year. I felt like if you tried to trade for him in the last offseason, you'd be buying low on him. And, you know, it takes 2 to tango. So I'm sure the Blue Jays weren't trying to trade him. But, you know, if there's things you guys want to feel better about the Cubs, it's like at least you're not the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays look like they're on their way to nowhere. Because I believe they don't have any top 100 prospects in their system. Bo Bichette's having a terrible year, and you're going into walk years for both Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette next season, and their team isn't good. And it's like, okay, well, how are you going to get this ship turned around? It kind of gives me the vibes of like 2019 Cubs, except the Blue Jays, you know, they're not even flirting with playoff contention like the Cubs did in 2019. So, you know, I'm interested to see how the Blue Jays act this offseason, and they have a lot of issues to work on. But yeah, I mean, it's probably a pipe dream, but it is a guy that I have dreamed about. So, by
the way, I saw Barb in the chat was, of course, saying that Jackson Ferris is the one that has pushed the Dodgers into the top 5. Barb's not. She's not totally wrong. Jackson Ferris in it, the 90th ranked prospect in baseball now, Barb. So congratulations to the #1 fan of Jackson Ferris outside of his family.
That's still laughable, but that's not true at all. But
even with him being, it's still not as high as Michael Busch was. So
what? Michael Busch was a top 50 prospect.
That's what I'm saying. It's still not as high as Michael Busch was.
Okay.
Even with him being at 90, he's still not ranked as high as Michael Busch was.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Fair enough.
Anyways,
I had one question. I know we want to talk about
Yeah.
this Jesse Rogers article. I was going to ask you, like, who has been the prospect to you this year that's been the most disappointing?
Ooh. Most disappointing prospect. I don't know if you considered Morel a prospect, but obviously that was.
No, I wouldn't
I
consider.
guess you
Morel a
don't
prospect.
count him that yet. For me, it's Horton. Just that, and it's not his fault. It's
Mhm.
that he wasn't able to get here, and he's not going to get here now this season. I
Yeah.
mean, we were counting on. Remember when we talked with Tommy Hotovy? I joked, "Hey, tell me I'm wrong," and I was like, "Cade Horton, National League Rookie of the Year or MVP or something like that, Cy Young," and he's like, "Oh, if that happens, we'll have an incredible season." He's not even going to get here,
Yeah.
And I was not fully serious when I was saying it, but it was like, that's the excitement, is we're all waiting to see Cade Horton. And so while it's Bush and then Ben Brown for me, exciting, most disappointed.
I think for me, it'd be Jordan Wicks. Like I'm thinking about guys who were coming into the year
Yeah,
prospect.
that's
and then
also injury,
graduated.
right? But like,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I totally consider him. Well, I mean, he had at least been up here.
The reason that I'm somewhat disappointed is because like it's not been like he's had injury problems. I don't
Yeah.
believe. And like, his second injury is an oblique thing. And as we've seen, obliques are tricky and they don't heal in a week or two,
Brendan Davis, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
But Brennan Davis is also like one of those, like, if things would have worked out with him this year, would have been just an added bonus. Like,
Right.
I think
when
a
he hit
lot
that
of
home
people,
run streak, I was all,
yeah. Well, yeah, and
bouncing
it
off
would have
the
been
wall.
awesome. It would have been awesome to see him get an opportunity, right? But yeah, I mean, it's hard to. I understand the point being about Jordan Wicks, like, injury is the reason, but I also felt like, man, like this guy has been durable most of his professional career. And now this year, it just hasn't been that way. And I feel bad for him. And he's on a rehab assignment right now. I expect to see him in September, but it's just been tough. And I feel like him being out has been it's been a bigger, missing piece to the puzzle than I could have ever expected. But that also goes in the fact that Hendricks is Hendricks now, and Assad has faded as the season's gone along, even though he was great his last start. But I felt like Jordan Wicks is a guy that you felt like really good about getting you 20, 25 starts this year and keeping you in games. And I felt like you saw him with how he was in the second half of last year when he got promoted, going into this year, and then how he started the year. Even though he wasn't going super deep in the games, you saw the stuff. You saw the bulldog mentality that he had. He had flashes. I think about that start against the Dodgers where he didn't go deep, but he kept the Cubs in the game somehow with that tough lineup that was healthy at the time. And he just had this vibe about him that was like, this guy is a gamer. This guy's going to go out there and do everything he can to keep you in games. And I still am high on him. I'm still excited about him. It's just like when you get hurt multiple times in one season, it's like, all right, well, is this going to happen next year? Because I hope not, I don't want him to become known as like an injury prone player,
Yeah. And like you said, it's been disappointing. I've been a little disappointed that one of the young, not that they've had bad seasons. Porter Hodge has done a nice job of taking that next step. Luke Little was taking that next step, we think, but I would have liked to have seen one of them take a leap and become just that guy. Now, maybe Ben Brown was close to becoming one of those guys, but then also, same thing. So they've had been a lot of problems. I don't want to spend a ton of time on the Jesse thing. I just think it's an interesting topic. Like he put out there that baseball was considering or talking about and is still thinking about that. They're trying to find ways, first of all, to cut down the amount of strikeouts, increase the activity, yada, yada, yada. And so they're like, what about if we put a 6-inning minimum on starters so that you're not just going specialty reliever, change pitcher, specialty reliever, change pitcher, and that hitters are getting dominated because guys are coming in and only blowing gas for 3 batters, and then they move on to the next inning and they change guys. Like, I get it. I think it's a horrible idea. And I know that you would have to have some outliers in it. Like you'd have to have, well, if a guy reaches 100 pitches in 5 innings, you got to take him out. If a guy's given up 6 runs, they got to have the ability to take him out. If he gets hurt, you got to, I get all that, but first of all, would have to probably change a little bit of what you're looking for. Command over gas, right?
Yeah.
So you'd start developing and drafting again. I don't know how you could just put it into the game instantly in 1 year. It'd have to be something you do down the road, and I just don't know that that's.
I think Jesse Rogers quote tweeted his own tweet of the story saying that it would be something that's implemented down the road to give teams time to start preparing for it.
I still don't love it.
I'm not playing it devil's advocate here, but I like it. And the reason being is one of the reasons that I even got into the game outside of Sammy Sosa hitting absolute tanks onto Waveland Avenue when I was a kid was that you saw marquee pitching matchups. It was guys going 6-7 innings. Godfather's giving me a round of applause for saying something like this. I know this, right? It's not to say that it's not to say that I support that they have to go 6 innings, because there's no way the Players Association would approve of that, right?
Agreed.
But there has to be some sort of incentive. I think in that article it talks about the double hook with the DH. If they're not able to go the 6 innings, then there's some sort of thing that goes against your DH, and it forces you to use your bench more. I don't have it all in my head totally, but it was a very interesting proposal, I guess. I think it would be, in some ways, could be good for the game. I just don't think baseball or Players Association will accept you have to go 6 innings thing. There's just no way that's gonna happen.
They're trying some kind of drastic stuff, right? The pitch clock is a drastic change to the game.
What they want to do, what I think they really want to do is get it to where you're not having so many injuries, because as we've seen, the Cubs have had a ton of injuries, whether it's in the bullpen. We just talk about Jordan Wicks with the injuries. I know it's not an arm injury, but there's just been a ton of pitcher injuries across the league for a handful of years now. And you can really talk about with relievers, because they're prepping these dudes to come in out of the bullpen, throw the slider, curveball, whatever, as hard as you possibly can for 2 innings to just strike guys out. And it's leading to more.
Throw it at 98.
Right. And it on top of the fact that guys are throwing harder, right? And it's leading to more arm injuries. And I think they're trying. The idea of it is trying to reduce injuries more so than anything else. I don't necessarily think it has anything to do with, kind of the pitch clock rule or any of that. I don't think it has to do with any of that. I think they're trying to reduce injury, honestly.
I think you'd have a lot of runs in the 5th and 6th inning.
Yeah, it might increase offense.
If you want to show up the game, you just wait till about the 4th inning and just see the rest of it, because the real hitting is going to start the 3rd time through that order.
Yeah.
All right. Friday 1:20 is tomorrow against the Blue Jays. Same song and dance, right? Meet at Murphy's.
Yeah.
With your bleacher ticket. Get your own bleacher ticket. Hopefully through Game Time, because that's where you get the best deals. And then hang out in the bleachers. Cody's gonna have signs. Braggs will be there.
Yeah. And
the sun's supposed to be out. Heat's supposed to be back. Blue Jays in town. And then of course we have the takeover, which will also be in the bleachers coming up September 6th, and that's the We Want Soto game.
Yeah,
and welcome back, Rizzo.
Yeah, it'll be our last takeover of the year. Yeah, I mean, should be a fun one. Whether I'm getting kind of nervous about Rizzo even being able to play. He's still not back from injury. I assume that he'll at least be there, because I'm sure he's had this series circled on his calendar all year. And so we'll at least get to see some sort of tribute video, and hopefully it comes out of the Yankees dugout and we all give him a round of applause, 10 minutes standing ovation, no less. Yeah, should be a lot of fun. And as bad as this team has been this year, or frustrating or whatever, I mean, the Friday 120 Club has been a great community event that we've done, and I think a lot of people have enjoyed it. Got asked a lot about it from some of the guys last night at our watch party who haven't been to one. So yeah.
Are we willing to change the name to the Juan Soto Club next year if they're able to sign him in the offseason? Just call it the Soto Club.
If he plays left field.
Yes. Whatever. You listen, if they get Soto, you can switch to right field. You can sit in right field next year.
I don't know about that.
You're not going to sit in right field if Soto's in right?
I refuse to sit in right field. there's some things that don't change, and I'm never sitting in
that's
right field.
That's a mistake. If Soto's there, that's where I'd be sitting.
You can go sit in right field by yourself then.
I don't think so. All right.
No show on Monday,
Brendan and
but
Corey coming up with Cubs related show on
Sunday,
recapping that series. We are off on Monday. We will be back with a show on Tuesday. That's next live, unless of course there's some big breaking news and something crazy happens. But that's
what would
we're
be
at.
the crazy thing?
I don't know.
I'm just asking, like, what's
I don't
so
know. I mean,
crazy
I
that
didn't
could
expect
happen?
Ryne Sandberg to come out and say that, the great news that his cancer is undetectable after his final treatment. So that's good news. I didn't expect that to happen. Maybe there's I don't want knock on wood. Maybe there's an injury or something that happens that we don't know about, or somebody gets
Jed Hoyer gets fired.
There's plenty of guys that people want DFA'd. Maybe one of those happens,
They finally DFA Wisdom, as everyone in the chat has been saying for years. Yeah, we'll be here no matter what.
Thanks to everybody that joined. Thanks to Sarah for running the 1s and 2s for us. Ryne will be back next week. He'll be back from Mexico and Vegas, we think.
He'll be at Wrigley Field tomorrow, but yeah, he's coming back from Mexico today and Vegas.
He was also, when he was in Vegas, he was trying to place who you got bets.
Yeah.
And the sports books were like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. They're like, what?
Who you what? Sir, I don't know what that napkin's supposed to mean, but it's not valid here in Las Vegas.
You can't scan it. You can't.
There's no scanning.
There's no scanning.
Sir, that napkin has lipstick and alcohol stains on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. We'll see you next time live on Tuesday or at the Friday 120 Club. Until then, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.